If your child is past the baby phase, you might be wondering, is it too late to teach my child how to sleep? And the short answer is no, it's never too late. It's just that the way that you go about it needs to change. My name is Dorit Shoshani. I'm a certified pediatric sleep consultant who has been working with families all over the world for the last 20 years, reap the benefits of quiet nights and calmer days. I am offering my Quiet Nights Jumpstart Challenge. It is 4 consecutive days with me where we will have an hour session every single day and a VIP option where you can meet me an hour earlier to ask me your questions, present your situation, bounce ideas back and forth. If you're coming to the challenge with a 3-month-old, or you're going to be at the challenge with a 3-year-old, we can get sleep underway for you and your family. So maybe your child's a little bit older and you're wondering, did I miss the boat? I mean, all my other friends have kids who are sleeping already and my kid's not sleeping yet. So maybe it's not going to happen ever. Maybe he's just a bad sleeper. But the truth is that sleep is not a developmental milestone. It's not like, oh, our child needs to be sitting up by 9 months and they need to be walking by 14 months and they need to be, we're not looking at it that way. And actually, even that's not true, because who's to say by when something needs to happen? We actually are not invested in the pace that our child develops in. We are invested in teaching them a new skill and supporting them through the shift. So teaching our child how to sleep is actually very similar to teaching them any new skill. Let's say you want to teach your child how to ride a bike. You're going to be able to show up again and again and again. Regardless of how your child is progressing, you recognize that you're invested in the learning process and not specifically at a certain time that things need to happen, or, he's already 5, he doesn't know how to ride a bike, so I guess it's not going to happen for us. We want to put our focus on 3 main keys in order to be able to facilitate the learning process with an older child. And those 3 points are clarity, consistency, and connection. And so we're going to dive into each one of those 3 so that we can leave this video with actual tools and a feeling of capability in helping our children make that shift to better night's sleep. So point number 1 is clarity. Now, there is always 2 ways that I look at things. There is clarity for me, and then there's clarity for my child. And we want to recognize that what's clear for us is not necessarily clear for our child. So maybe when your child is very small, you kind of just do things for them, and you change their diaper, and you feed them, and you schlep them into the car, and you do all of your things with them, but they don't really know what's going on. They don't know what to expect. They don't know what's happening. Even if you're going to change their diaper, the only cue that they're going to have a diaper change might be the space that you're changing them in. And so they associate that space with a diaper change. But if you are not letting your child know what's happening before it happens, they have no idea what's coming up. And we take that for granted because we have a calendar and we make plans and we know that we're going to go do something, or that somebody's going to come over, or that something specific is going to happen. But our kids don't have that luxury. They kind of are at the mercy of whoever is parenting them. And so when we think of clarity, obviously first we need to have a plan. Because if we don't have a plan, then we're just reactive. And we all know by now, through all the videos and all the talking that I've done, that reactive parenting doesn't work. It just creates chaos. So we come up with a plan. So first you come up with your plan, and you will decide what that plan is based on what the situation is at home and how old your child is, but you have a plan. Now, you know that plan. You're like, okay, I've come up with this plan and this is what I'm going to do. And if you're like me, you probably write it down a million times. Like I have all these little notes in this notebook, and I kind of make notes about what needs to happen when. I'm a big time planner. And in the beginning, I didn't recognize that that was something that I needed to relay to my children so that they could be on board, especially as they get older, right? Because the older a child gets, the more they want to feel safe. And how do they feel safe? When things are predictable. And when are things predictable? When mom tells me about them. So you need to tell your child about what the plan is. So remember, we're not coming at our children, because when we come at our children, they're going to give us back resistance. So this is not about a tougher method. It's not about being more strict. It's not about being, now they're older, so I got to be stronger. It's not what this is about. It's actually the opposite. It's not about being softer either. That's not what I mean. What I'm trying to say is, We want to come alongside our child. We want to bring them on board, and we want to share with them what's going to be happening so that they can start to understand that, oh, right, mom said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 was going to happen, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 happened. And then in the morning, we reflect back on those things that happened. And the next night, mom's telling me again before bed about what's going to happen, and then she follows through. And then in the morning, we reflect again about what happened last night. So this is like, I feel like it's just respectful parenting. It's about respecting our children and expecting them to want to know what's happening and treating them as human beings and not just doing things to them, because we're not really doing things to our children. We want them to be on board. We want to share with them what's happening. We want to explain to them why things are going to happen, how things are going to play out. Now, don't misunderstand me, please, because I don't mean that this is what we're doing in real time, because that's actually a pitfall. We over communicate in real time, and communicating in real time is not what we want to have happening. We want to orient our children before they go to sleep and then after they wake up. And actually in that big chunk of time that's called sleep or that's called nighttime, we don't want to have communication at all because children wake up for interaction. And so if you're starting to explain and try and convince them in real time, they're going to think that's super fun. It's like, woo, we get to hang out with dad right now. He's like having a whole talk with us. So before we put our children to sleep, we want to let them know what's going to be happening. So sweetie, we're going to sleep tonight in your bed, and mommy's not going to tickle your hair for the next 15 minutes while you're trying to fall asleep. Mommy's actually going to go finish doing the dishes. At that point, you're going to get up after that last kiss goodnight, and you're going to say goodnight and walk out, and you expect that they're going to be okay in their bed, and you relay that information to them. And then, of course, they're going to say, no, mommy, sit here. And you might say, if you need me, you can call for me, and I'll come. But I'm not sitting here. I have chores to do. And you leave. And that's important. And then, so let's just take that as an example. You go through the night, and in the morning, however that night plays out is going to play out. In the morning, when your child wakes up, you reflect. And so you talk about the night, and you say, isn't that right that you wanted mommy to sit next to you and do chills on you and hang out with you until you would be sleeping? But you did such a wonderful job, and you were so amazing at being in your bed. I'm so proud of you. We're going to do that again tonight. And so you are creating a sense of predictability around how your child is going to experience this shift, because the shift is unpredictable. They don't know what you're doing. You're changing up the rules all of a sudden. But if you can relay what's going to happen before it happens and then reflect back after it happens, you end up strengthening your stance and you end up leaving your child's dignity intact. The first main point is clarity. We said you need a plan, and we said that you need to relay that information to your child so that your child can understand what's going to happen before it happens and then connect the dots in the morning after it happens. Key number 2 is consistency. Now, consistency means that we help set up predictability, because when things are consistent over and over and over and over again, we fall into a pattern. And it's actually a physiological thing as well as a mental thing. So when things happen over and over and over again, the brain wants to conserve energy. And so what it does is it memorizes patterns. It has pattern recognition, and how lucky we are that way we don't need to be so busy being aware of every single thing that's happening. We can put things on autopilot. And so if we can be consistent enough for our children, eventually that consistency becomes predictable, and that predictability creates safety. So we want to be consistent at night in the way that we show up. That means what we communicated to our child before they went to sleep is actually what happens throughout the night until the morning routine. And the night routine or the bedtime routine together with the morning routine, those are kind of the bookends. So we don't want to do anything different in between those bookends. So it doesn't matter what time it is. And this reminds me, I'm facilitating a family, and this family has been working so hard to get their 2.5-year-old to sleep through the night. And we started out in a very chaotic situation. And just yesterday, she said to me, I couldn't believe it. She sent me a message. She said, I couldn't believe it. He slept until 5:30. He actually slept the whole entire night till 5:30. She really didn't believe it was going to happen. So he slept till 5:30. I said to her, great. And what happened at 5:30? And she said, Oh, I was so excited. I actually didn't even think about it. I just went to him right away and I picked him up and I brought him into my bed. And I thought, okay, that could go one of two ways. It could be that she brought him into her bed and the room was all lit up and it was morning and she was like cuddling him and kissing him and having her morning routine with him and like really celebrating the success. Or it could be that she brought him into her bed at 5:30 in the morning and the shutters were down and it was still dark and her husband was still sleeping next to her and she wanted to grab a little bit more sleep. And so she hoped maybe he would go back to sleep. And so I actually left her that message. I said, which one of the two was it? And she goes, oops, it was totally dark. My husband's totally still sleeping and I was hoping to get a few more minutes of sleep. Now, this little boy, does not understand what time it is. He does not understand if it's going to be 5 more minutes of sleep or 1 more hour of sleep, because once we're back in someone's bed when it's dark and they're going back to sleep, it feels like nighttime still. And so granted it was 5:30, but the child doesn't understand it's 5:30 and that creates confusion. I think this is very important regardless. It's like you always want to think about what is the underlying message that I'm giving my child in any situation. If I'm bringing my child into a bedroom that's dark and we're half asleep, then my child is supposedly supposed to fall back asleep. Even if he doesn't, it doesn't matter, because the message is, I'm trying to keep sleeping. And so I'm hoping you keep sleeping. And so it's still nighttime. They don't understand differently. When we are consistent, our child can just relax. It's like, I know from nighttime till morning time, I'm in my bed. And then when it's morning time, we celebrate the morning, we have breakfast, we get to cuddle, we get to tickle, we look out the window, we say good morning to the bus and the birds and the trees and the giraffe and the elephant and all the friends outside. It's morning. There's no confusion. And I'm sure just in this example, you recognize that is super confusing for a child, because we're consistent until we're not, or we're consistent until we're too tired, or we're consistent until like it's enough already. It's just too many wake-ups. And then we just sabotage all the work we've done. So consistency is key. Consistency is key for sleeping through the night in our beds until the morning. Now, point number 3 is connection. And connection is the most seeked out thing that we have as human beings. We just want connection. We want connection at all costs. That's the thing that makes us feel safe, especially as children, but even as adults, we want that connection. And so our children want the connection too. And then you might be thinking, well, how are they going to get connection? They're actually getting separation, because sleep is separation, right? Sleep is like good night and you're in your own bed and I'm in my own bed. So how is that connection? But connection is actually a dynamic, a healthy connection dynamic, if we understand it as so. And so we go from connecting with our child to disconnecting from our child, to connecting with our child to disconnecting from our child. And that's normal and that's healthy. And we do it with our meals, right? And we do it with our work, and we do it with our partners, and we do it with everything in life. We have this dynamic of connect and disconnect, connect and disconnect. And what happens with our children is that we get afraid. We are so afraid of the disconnect that we linger in connection past when we're supposed to disconnect. And then we kind of swell with resentment. And it's like, why do I have to keep sitting here? Why do I have to keep doing this? How come I can't get out of the room? Why is it taking an hour and a half tonight? I just missed my whole dinner with my partner. Connection needs to be healthy. And in order for a healthy connection dynamic to happen, first of all, we need to understand connection. So if we think about how things are going with our children, we want to recognize that especially before and after times of separation or of disconnect, we have connection. And so that sets up these wonderful routines or these wonderful rhythms that we talk about. We have bedtime routine full of connection. And if we're talking about an older child, oh my God, it's wonderful, because this is really where we get to have a delicious bedtime routine. I mean, you know, when your child was like 5 months old, the bedtime routine was like 3 to 5 minutes at the most, if we were lucky. But with a child that's older, let's say 2 years old or 2.5 or 3 years old, we can have a bedtime routine that goes on for like 30 minutes. It's so wonderful. And it's one-on-one time, and it's slowing down the pace, and it's bringing out the books, and it's talking about what we see in the images, and maybe saying a prayer and cuddling our child before they go to sleep. I mean, there's so much we can put in that bedtime routine. It should be something we're all looking forward to. And then morning routine, same thing. It's like, I didn't see you the whole night. I just want to eat you up. I want you in my bed, and I want to tickle you and hug you and kiss you. And it's like, we want those connection moments, but they need to be appropriate, because if the connection goes bad because we're scared of the disconnect, then it's no longer yummy. It's actually not really something we look forward to at all. Maybe we're actually dreading it. So when we think about connection, we want to foster healthy connection at the appropriate times, before and after sleep, okay? And that means before and after nights and before and after naps. Yes, we want to do connection routines before and after naps as well. They don't have to be as long. They don't have to be as intense. They can be mini routines, but we definitely want to prep our child before and after. And maybe we want to anchor them in what's going to happen when they wake up. So when you get up from nap, we're going to go to the park. It's going to be so much fun. Or when you get up from nap, grandma's going to come over and we're going to hang out together. And that gives them something to hold on to. It's so wonderful. And we want this as well. We want to know what's going to come after we're disconnected. We want to know how we're going to be able to be in connection again. And I mean, I still have this today with my daughter who's in the Army. When she leaves for the Army, and I never know when she's coming back, we always talk about when she comes back, we're going to have a big family dinner. And that's what we do. It's like we anchor in the next connection moment. So she's gone for however long it is at a time. And then when she comes home, she knows we're going to connect. We're going to have a family dinner. And that ends up being something that we hold on to while she's away. And it's the same for our children when they're little. They go to sleep, they know we're going to have a yummy morning, and they hold on to that when they're disconnecting, when they're falling asleep, because that's something that they can look forward to. Let's recap these 3 points. The first point we said is clarity. We want to have a plan, and we want to let our children know what's going to happen before it happens. Point number 2 we said is consistency. We want consistency from bedtime till morning, no cutting corners, no throwing in the towel early, all the way from start to finish. And point number 3 we said is connection. We want to make sure that we're anchoring and fostering a healthy connection dynamic with our children on the endpoints. So we connect before we go to sleep, we connect when we wake up, we connect before we drop off at daycare, we connect when we come back, we connect before nap, we connect after we come back. We are constantly anchoring in the connection, and that just helps facilitate the disconnect. Because between you and I, nobody really wants to disconnect. We all love that yummy connection. But if we don't, the connection isn't yummy anymore. It's a connection that's gone bad. So put focus on that and recognize if you're able to honor those boundaries around connection. Can you actually disconnect? And if you're having a hard time, come join me in my challenge, because we're going to do this together. We're going to have 4 days in a row with an hour teaching session every day. If you join the VIP session, you'll have an extra hour with me beforehand where you can bring up your situation and we can talk through things and decide what needs to be the best plan of action for you so that we can get your sleep underway. So thank you for being with me. I will see you in the next video.